In just a few hours' time, Kamala Harris will make the biggest speech of her life amidst her greatest political battles 73 days out from the US presidential election. After a surprise appearance by Oprah and a pep talk from Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz on day 3, the Democratic National Convention has all been building up to this very moment on the fourth and final day.
Vice President Harris will take to the stage in Chicago to formally accept the party's presidential nomination and make her pitch to voters to have their voices heard in November. North America Bureau Chief Jade Macmillan is there at the DNC in Chicago. Jade, this is such a big speech for Kamala Harris. What does she need to achieve with it?
Well, this is a huge moment for Kamala Harris, Lisa. It was only weeks ago that everyone here thought that it would be Joe Biden getting up onto that stage and formally accepting his party's endorsement for a second term. But Joe Biden withdrew from the race under an extraordinary amount of pressure. He quickly got behind his vice president, and that has helped Kamala Harris to lead to this moment. She will need to make the most of this opportunity. There will be millions of Americans tuning in. Others will see clips of this speech across their social media feeds. And while Kamala Harris has been in national politics for a number of years, she was a senator before she was vice president, there would still be a lot of Americans who don't know all that much about what she stands for and who she is. She has the backing of the party faithful, as we've seen all week at this convention in Chicago. But if she's going to win, she really needs to reach the middle, the independent voters, the swing voters, who really will decide the outcome of this election. Now, if Kamala Harris wins, she'll be America's first female president. We've seen a number of women coming into this arena now, symbolically dressed in suffragette white. One of them was Jill Lewis. She's a friend of Kamala Harris's. They went to college together. They were in the same sorority. We caught up with her. She had this to say about the Kamala Harris that she knows.
Kamala is amazingly cool, calm, and collected. She's loving, she's warm, and that laugh is genuine. It's the through line. When she first hit the media stage, one of the things that really made me say, that is my line sister, that is the person that I met in college, was her laugh, her smile, and her joy.
And amongst the party love-in this week, there have been some tensions as well, especially on the Middle East. So, Jade, how has that played out?
Yeah, the Democrats have been really keen to try to project a message of unity, especially given that very messy period where divisions were on display as Joe Biden came under pressure to withdraw from the race. But there are also tensions over the war in Gaza. There have been pro-Palestinian demonstrations taking place outside the convention venue all week. They haven't been as large as organisers had been hoping for, but there are also delegates inside who are staging a protest of their own. They're the state party officials, the people that come to this convention and formally nominate the candidate. There's a small group who are very upset with the way that the Biden administration has handled the conflict in the Middle East. They want the US to stop providing military support to Israel, and they're staging a sit-in on the convention grounds at the moment, angry that a Palestinian American wasn't given the chance to speak at this convention.
Incredibly disappointing. We are all proud Democrats to be elected to these roles. You typically have to be someone who's engaged with the party for a significant amount of time. A lot of us are career Democrats who do this professionally. We feel that our party is betraying our values with this decision.
Now, there's an enormous amount of attention, as you'd expect, on the Democratic side of politics at the moment, in the same way that Republicans were in the spotlight at their national convention last month. But Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, is still trying to divert some of that focus. And today he's very deliberately campaigning on the border between the US and Mexico. He has made immigration a major focus of his campaign. He's criticised Kamala Harris's record on that issue, and he's really trying to create a sort of split screen today between the celebration for the Vice President taking place here and trying to highlight one of the issues that he sees as one of her biggest weaknesses. So another huge day in US politics, Lisa, but we know also it is a big day for News Breakfast as well. On behalf of our entire North America Bureau, we want to thank you. We love chatting all things America with you, and we wish you all the very best in this exciting chapter ahead.
You do a great job over there, Jade. Thank you. That is going to be a packed room, and the technology is going to be groaning under the weight of it. You know what, I was just thinking, 20 years since I covered a presidential election campaign and stood in one of those rooms, 2004. Wow, it is quite a blast. It's such a privilege to do it for the ABC, both you and me. Thank you, Jade.
OK, to other stories now. Authorities resume an urgent rescue this morning for a whale stuck in Sydney Harbour. The humpback was spotted yesterday afternoon entangled in ropes. Reporter Charlie Mills is at Camp Cove with the very latest this morning. So, Charlie, what is the plan for the rescue?
Well, the first task, Michael, this morning has been locating the whale. It had a satellite tracker that was attached last night, but that only stayed on for about an hour before it was dislodged. So first thing this morning, what the crews had to do was get out on the water and locate it. The first reported sighting came through at about 6:30 a.m. this morning from the Port Authority, and it was just behind me in the harbour here. Now, it looks that crews have located the whale, and they will be trying to rescue it shortly. So they'll be heading out on boats, attempting to cut those ropes and buoys that have become tangled around it.
So what do we know, Charlie, about the whale's condition at this time?
Well, as I mentioned there, the whale was sighted yesterday afternoon about 1:30 with ropes and buoys tangled behind it. So it was slowed down a bit, but according to authorities, it was still able to swim and dive with a bit of ease, but it was exhibiting some strange behaviour. It was swimming around in circles in the harbour, which is not normal behaviour. This is a sub-adult whale, about 10 to 11 metres long. They were trying to track and analyse what it was doing yesterday. They believed at a certain point that it may have gone actually out to sea. The last tracked position yesterday was at North Head. However, they then revised that and believed that it had stayed in the harbour, and that appears to be the case this morning. So they are looking at this whale and its health. Hopefully it is all right and it is able to be rescued this morning.
Fingers crossed right across the nation, undoubtedly. Charlie, thank you.
In other news, investigators on the Italian island of Sicily have begun to interview the crew and survivors from the luxury yacht that sank in wild weather earlier this week. 5 bodies have been recovered from the yacht, including British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch. His 18-year-old daughter is still missing.
Refuellers at Sydney Airport have begun strike action that has the potential to cause cancellations and delays today. Passengers travelling through Sydney Airport today are encouraged to stay alert for messages from their airline. The Transport Workers Union says more than 50 Ampol aviation workers are involved in the action over pay and conditions.
Australia will take command of a task force to protect Red Sea shipping routes from October, but will not deploy a warship. ABC's defence correspondent Andrew Green says the 6-month mission will be confirmed today.
A Western Australian forced adoption victim says the findings of a major inquiry should remind governments to never repeat such systematic cruelties. The WA parliamentary inquiry revealed that tens of thousands of babies were forcibly removed across Australia from the 30s to the 80s, and it's recommending financial compensation for the victims. A national group representing adopted people says the recommendations should be rolled out across Australia.
Ambulance Victoria has apologised to staff members for underpaying superannuation. The emergency service says it's begun repaying the super owed, with most underpayments averaging around $1,000. The ambulance service has been facing months of turmoil, including a no confidence vote in its leadership and the departure of its CEO earlier in the week.
And the world's second biggest diamond has been discovered in a mine in Botswana. It is 2,492 carats. Is that big? The biggest ever was found was over 3,000 carats and became part of the crown jewel.